Hey, Christoph here. Here's an overview of a task that I'm working on, which is the visual review of the guide. So I took screenshots of all the pages in the guide, laid them out here in Figma. They're grouped by section, and there will be a few more pages coming down here in the, which one is this, payments section, and then also in the onboarding section up here. There are more pages coming, but everything else is here. And there are a few things that you'll notice here. We have a handful of very long ones. For example, here in the private key management ones, one of the things I did here was to recommend splitting this one up. There are 5 different techniques for key management explained here, and each of them could easily be an own dedicated page. So that's something that's already a pull request on GitHub to create this split up. But another thing that I noticed is there are a lot of black and white pages, and that's kind of intentional in a way, because early on when we created some of these pages, we just kind of wanted to get things out a bit and not spend too much time, exploring all kinds of different styles and whatnot. But now we're at a point where, it is a good time, and we can add that level of polish and refinement. Another thing I saw here is that there's, in some places, like the case study, there's more opportunity to show actual screen mockups. The case studies are perfect for that. We could use both headers here for these. For example, cash account daily spending. You could show how somebody using a phone to pay in the grocery store to kind of explain that use case. And then there are some pull requests open that take the screens that are in this clickable prototype. So when you click here, it takes you to a Figma prototype you can click through. And there's a pull request that adds a slide image gallery here with those screens and short explanations for each one. And that way, you can go beyond clicking through it and feeling out what this experience is like to also seeing, analyzing the individual screens and the reason of each one, how this experience is architected and whatnot. So we have page links, we have the black and white stuff, we have opportunities to add more images here. I think the foundations page here could also use a header image. I believe there is a issue for that. Bitcoin design principles could use some visuals. It's very text heavy. This is a tricky one, as principles can be very difficult to visualize, but abstract here. Then you have pages like wallet interoperability here, which uses this black and white style. There are some of these that I've already addressed. For example, here at Bitcoin Tech Primer, I went through and picked up this blueprint style here and made everything a bit more consistent. Same thing with, let me see, usage lifecycle here. I picked up a style from the new header here and from the new homepage banner that Jessica put together and used similar type of colors. So that's already something in progress. But there are also a few other pages where we could splice things up a little bit. I think here in the private key management sections, I personally haven't touched anything. If somebody wants to work on that, welcome to do that. Then glossary, there are a few black and white ones here. I think for the glossary, it's pretty long, and we might need to create some more subpages to, for example, addresses is a lot of text that could easily be its own page. There's already an issue that recommends doing that. And then there might be some opportunity to also create some more visuals. And a good thing with the glossary is here, sometimes it's a little bit more technical information. So that's the type of stuff that sometimes, instead of writing 10 paragraphs of text, one good image can explain the same thing a lot more effectively. So those are opportunities also to look into. But otherwise, I think just in terms of the visual direction, we have a lot of different approaches here. We have some things that are very heavily textured. We have some things that are a bit more flat with just using some drop shadows or gradients to create a little bit of depth. We have vector illustrations. We have 3D illustrations. I think that's all. We have some abstract ones. I think that's great if we can have a whole bunch of different diversity here in the visuals, and to reflect kind of the the idea that, this is a design community and we have lots of different creative people here with different expressions, and that Bitcoin applications in the end can take on and experience can take on very different shapes, because in the end we're not designing something for a big boring bank where everything has to be blue and gray, but we can create things that look lively and playful or serious and cypherpunk or whatever we want it to be. But anyways, this is one of the tasks that I'm working on. It's a big task, and if anybody else wants to help and browse around the guide and come up with recommendations for what we could do visually, it doesn't have to be addressing anything that I mentioned here. Could be improvements to anything else. Typically, the source files for all the illustrations and visuals are readily available. Most of them are in Figma somewhere, and you are more than welcome to help out. So thanks for listening.